Hi Ian, I'm Brian. I don't know if you clicked on a video of mine or before or not. It doesn't really matter. Um, I've clicked on a few of yours and watched your intensity, your feelings, your emotions, your passion, your honesty. Many things about you that others see that I've seen, and I find your perspective hopefully not unique, but going in the right direction of being a human being that is compassionate, loving, forgiving, all of those things that the world needs more of. And that's important. And I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that you were talking on, and I've spoken in depth with a good friend of mine who is no longer on this planet, and we used to have very long conversations about fear and where does it come from, and how do we overcome it, and that's both physical fear and emotional fear. And he believed strongly that the spirit, how you are inside, controls the physical fear that you have. If you think of a suicide bomber, that this person, no way walked through life without fearing something physical, but yet they took their life. They took that greatest thing that was given to them. And you would think that I would have fear doing that. I would have fear pulling that trigger, or pushing that button or whatever. That because of their lack of spiritual fear, their conviction to what they were doing, they pushed that button because they had no fear of what was going to happen after that. Soldiers do that in combat all the time, and I don't care what religion you are. I don't care where you place where you're going. We can overcome our physical fear through spiritual non-fear. And that's very powerful. It's very powerful. It's difficult to do the reverse. If we have no physical fear, does that mean we'll also have no spiritual fear? I don't know if it plays that way. But I wanted to speak mainly on the separation between emotional and physical fear, and see it in two different ways. The emotional fear is more your spirit, and those things that infect your spirit emotionally, that would be fearful, are jealousy, greed, envy, those things that cause us emotionally to feel we're missing something, that something is not whole within us emotionally. That's a fear. That's fear-based. And then, of course, on the physical side, we all recognize that. I'm fearful of getting beat up or something. Or right now I have a bat in my house, a bat, and he's hanging on a door downstairs, and I'm fearful of going up there and getting him. I don't know why I have this fear of bats. It's probably, one of those past emotional memories that I tucked away, but for some reason I am. And that's a very physical thing. And my ego does that. My ego is what protects me from walking out in front of a bus and getting smashed. My ego is what tells my body, don't do this because you're going to get hurt. Why you don't put your hand over an open flame? That's the ego doing that. But your spirit is different. It allows you to overcome things, such as getting in front of a camera and videotaping yourself. No, there's no physical fear here. I'm nice and warm and snug in my house, except for a bat, and I don't fear the camera. But if I was looking at, a million people watching YouTube, I might have a little bit of fear. But both sides are based in that, and I think that's where the human curse, as you put it, is in a dilemma. Is how do we manage those fears that we have between physical and emotional. I've always seen it this way, that we're human beings, and the human side of us is the animal. The being side of us is the spirit. And we've always been at odds with that. The animals have no problem. There's order in the natural world. They know what to fear, they know what not to fear. We don't see them at war with one another, but we also don't see them as creative beings. I don't. I know that's an argument all by itself. Are animals creative? Personally, I feel that they are very intuitive, but they're also instinctual, and we're not. We will do things based on very irrational premises, and that irrational premise is usually based on fear. It usually has an element of being afraid of something that actually we don't need to be afraid of. Overcoming fear. And I'm trying to keep this short because I keep getting told my videos are too long, but I want to get a director's account so I can make them longer. But anyway, overcoming fear. Maybe it's just a matter of increasing your sense of spirituality. If you do it through religion, fine, if that helps. But do you have to do it that way? I don't think so. I think you can understand that you're okay spiritually, no matter what, even if we turn to dust. So even if an atheist can overcome fear, if he simply knows that I'm just going to be dust, so it doesn't really matter. Or if the most fundamental religious person feels that they are going to go to wherever their heaven is at, to wherever their nirvana is at, wherever their virgins are at, whatever, it doesn't matter because they're okay spiritually. So if we increase the spirit, then we can overcome those emotional fears. So how do we overcome the physical fears? It goes hand in hand. You know, if we totally understand that spiritually we're okay, then outwardly, physically, we are more able to do what separates us from that instinctual, animalistic human, and that is to be creative. You know, give yourself to expressing yourself through a myriad of ways. You know, art is one, music is one, writing is one, doing videos is one. There's lots of ways of expressing oneself, but do it with the absence of hate. Make art without hate. Make music without hate. Make videos without hate. And I think if we can do that, then the human condition, our evolution to a different plateau will occur. It doesn't have to be written in stone that we are a warring, hateful, vengeful, screwed up race. It doesn't have to be that way. If it is, we might as well push that button and take us all out. Because that's what's going to happen. Stephen Hawking said today, if we're going to survive as a human race, and he didn't say it today, came out in the news today, but it's been said for a long time. If we're going to survive as a human race, we need to find other places to go. We need to find other planets out there to go to. Well, if that's true, we need to go as one human race. Not as black, not as white, not as red, not as green, not as yellow, not as any of those. One human race. There's only one way to get there, and that's love. Hate will not get us there. So anyway, and that's all based in fear. It's all because we fear each other. We fear what's going to happen. You know, this kitty does not fear me. She might fear you. But, you know, anyway. Enough of my rant. Now I got little kitty hairs all over the place. Okay, take care.